What is going on, everyone? We are back with another In Search of Darkness horror movie review. I'm Depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
And together we are...
Hella Depraved.
Yes, we are!
So
horror.
We're still in the 80s.
We are. Oh,
still.
You know what I didn't look up?
We're going to be in the 80s for a while, which is fine. We're having a good old time. So this is a review of a Poltergeist.
Yep.
And classic film from 82. Now, both of us had seen this before.
Yes. This is definitely a rewatch, but more of a paid attention to rewatch.
And I haven't seen it since I was probably a teenager, and...
Same here.
Remembered it being pretty awful, which is why I had never gone back to it. Like, I remembered it being really, really cheesy.
I don't remember it being awful. I remember it just being kind of boring.
Yeah.
As a kid.
That's how I remembered it. So, we'll tell you what we think of it now, but yeah.
But yeah, so Rotten Tomatoes has an 88 critic score, 79 audience score.
So, it's well liked.
And this is this is the original.
Right.
Right. And yes, baby, hit him with the plot.
All right. Well, so this is about a family whose father is a real estate agent, and a good one, and they live in a new development. And the little girl starts watching the staticky TV.
Right.
And then announces, "They're here." And the entire family at that point, which is interesting because it's not the way most ghost stories go.
No.
Actually starts having paranormal experiences. So everybody in the family, mother, father, teenage girl, like 9-year-old boy, and then the 4 or 5-year-old daughter that said they're here. All of them know that the house is definitely haunted.
There's no question about it.
No. So they proceed. There's a stormy night. They're all trying to deal with this, and the little boy is snatched up by a tree that crashes through his window, and while they're distracted, the spirits take the 5-year-old daughter that was watching the static in the first place.
Into her closet.
A portal to another world.
Yep.
So at that point, paranormal investigators are called in, and they're all kind of skeptics. I mean, they're doing what they do because they want to see, they want to believe. But
the truth is out there.
Right, they're skeptics until like everything on the table just starts moving, and they're like, okay, well then.
I think the real deciding moment, if you remember, was he gets home from work, and it was actually before the little girl got abducted, if I remember correctly, because he gets home from work, and the wife
is showing him how
no matter what she puts down on this X, it gets scooted across the floor. And they even get a helmet and put it on the little girl and have her slide across the floor. And it was...
Well, I was skipping the particulars. It's just like they all know it's happening. So when the paranormal investigators come in, they kind of do a show and tell, and just things go batshit.
It's seeing them, by the way, the paranormal investigators being surprised at everything.
Great.
Almost like they've never seen an actual haunting before.
It was absolutely... Like I said, they were kind of skeptics, and then all of a sudden, you know... So then we get an appearance, because they don't know quite what to do, by Zelda. She's amazing. Made a lot of cameos, but she was also in a lot of stuff in the 80s and 90s. I just adore her. You know things are going to be spiritual when she shows up. And she is the medium.
Tangina Barons.
Yes. Barrows?
Barons.
You're right. But yeah, so Zelda is the spiritualist, the medium, and she's the one that tells them that there are a lot of presences in the house, and directs the mother how she has to go onto this other plane to get her daughter back, release the spirits that are trapped there. It ends, you know... Everything is screwed up, and so on and so forth. And the father, the real estate's boss, shows up on the scene, and all of a sudden all these skeletons start popping up through the yard, and you come to find out that the real estate developer chose to only move the tombstones of the cemetery that he wanted to build over, and left the bodies in a very dramatic scene, mind you.
Right.
And so at the very end, the father of the family gets everybody in the car, and their house kind of like folds in on itself into this other dimension. And, you know, basically, I'd have to say that that entire real estate development is now, people are going to be moving out real fast, real fast. So it was fun. It was fun.
Right. All right, so to give you guys the rundown, this movie was directed by Tobe Hooper, who many know as the director for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Correct.
Screenplay was done by Steven Spielberg, Michael Grace, and Mark Victor. There's also several rumors going around that many people thought that Steven Spielberg had ghost directed it and just used Tobe Hooper as a name.
But he said he hadn't. He wanted to do a collab with Hooper because he likes
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And just wanted to be part of it. And honestly, having the two of them together on this was great. But you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen in terms of a director, you know.
Right. Produced by Frank Marshall and Steven Spielberg, starring, we'll get to that in a second. Cinematography was done by Matthew F. Leonetti. Edited by Michael Kahn, music by Jerry Goldsmith, produced by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM.
Right.
SLM Production, and a couple others. Distributed by MGM and United Artists. And runtime, 114 minutes. Cost $10.7 million to make.
Which is a lot back then.
And made $121.7 million in the box office.
People loved it. People loved it.
As far as some other things to go over about it, it did win some awards. It was nominated for a couple of Academy Awards, but it won 3 Saturn Awards. It won a Saturn Award for Best Horror or Thriller Film, Saturn Award for Best Makeup, and Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actress because of Zelda Rubinstein.
She's amazing as always.
And then it won a British Academy Film Award for Best Special Visual Effects.
Okay. I mean, it's beautiful because it is a horror film and it is specified as a horror thriller. And horror often gets overlooked by any sort of stamp of approval from the who's who.
One of the things I was going to bring up anyways, and it obviously went on to spawn several sequels and a remake.
Right.
But one of my favorite things in the section here in popular culture, and I was going to mention this even if I didn't see it here.
Right.
It spawned one of my favorite Family Guy episodes of all time.
Right.
Which the Family Guy episode was also called Poltergeist. But it is a heavy parody of the Poltergeist movie. They have to pull people out of Meg's butthole.
I remember, yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Absolutely love that. As far as actors and actresses that are in this, Jo Beth Williams plays as Diane Freeling. Jo Beth Williams is somebody who is known for Stir Crazy, The Big Chill, The Day After, which I think The Day After is the only one of these that I've actually seen.
Right.
Teachers. She was in Poltergeist too. Craig T. Nelson, who I'm actually more familiar with, I think. Yeah.
Coach, right?
Craig T. Nelson played as the coach in the TV show Coach, and I grew up on that show.
Yeah, that's exactly, okay.
So that's where I basically knew him from. Beatrice Straight as Dr. Martha
She's
Lesh.
one of the, she's the psychiatrist that's also paranormal investigator.
Right. Dominique Dunn was Dana Freeling, Oliver Robbins as Robbie Freeling, Heather O'Rourke as Carol Ann Freeling.
She was so cute.
She was.
Yeah.
Michael McManus as Ben Tuthill.
Right.
Virginia Kaiser as Miss Tuthill. As pretty much the rest of these are all kind of...
Well, and then we've got Zelda Rubinstein as Tangina Barons. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the cast. In my opinion, one of the more solid but obscure overall casts.
Right.
For its time.
Yeah.
Obviously, most of these people went on to do
They either went on to do major things or major things happened. Like Dominic Dunn had a tragic ending, as did Heather O'Rourke.
Right. And
that is part of the reason that Poltergeist is one of the films that's considered a cursed film.
Which is stupid.
It is, but...
Because
They could
even
have
the
gone
Heather
on to do so much more.
the Heather O'Rourke one was like 4 or 5 years after the movie because she went on to be in the next two.
Right.
As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, if I remember correctly, she passed away right before the third one came out.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, all tragic, regardless.
Very, but not necessarily related to the film whatsoever.
But yeah, it was a pretty solid cast, and had a really good backing of people putting it together. I mean,
exactly.
Spielberg, Hooper,
MGM even.
MGM, United Artists. It's
and they had a good budget to do so. Now,
obviously, and this is where we can go into this now. Special effects.
it's an 82 film.
It's made in 82, and you're not going to get state-of-the-art,
No.
modern-looking things. If you want that, I haven't seen the remake of Poltergeist. I hear it's terrible, but I do want to see it.
I just want to. I want to see it so that I can form my own opinion. But I've heard it's terrible.
But yeah, you're going to get some of the goofy stuff that's like the special effects of like the wisps moving around.
That's what I was going to say.
Just
Honestly,
looks out of place.
the spirits were the only thing that kind of took me out of it somewhat, because they are kind of blue wisps that are not really present and
right,
so on and so forth. But honestly, it didn't happen enough for me to be like, oh yeah, this is stupid. But the special effects in terms of like the tree turning into a monster, the skeletons, so on and so forth, the practicals were amazing. Yes. They were really amazing. They did a very good job. The house like folding in on itself and stuff like that. Oh, it's a little
dated,
but it's not to the point that you're like, that's stupid. Again, because you have to realize it's an 82 film, and that's going to happen.
Right. And then going into the overall, my overall opinion of the story as well, something else I did want to talk about. This is the first movie, or at least the earliest movie, that I can remember to give you what I consider to be a false finish.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, and again, there's always spoilers here, guys. These movies are 30 years old at this point. Like,
our reviews are not spoiler free.
They're not going to be spoiler free. It gets to the point where they think they get rid of the ghost.
Right.
And everything's quiet for 2 or 3 days. And then all of a sudden, and they even kind of give you that feeling again because everybody leaves. It feels like the movie's coming to the end.
Yeah.
They're giving you the tranquil music, and then
they've got their daughter back.
Shit goes off the handles again.
Right. And that's when they take off in the car, and yeah.
And like it gets to the point where like they're swimming in, what has become a lake of where their house is supposed to be.
Soupy skeleton soup.
And it's got skeletons floating around in it,
right.
And eventually they get out, they get away.
That's time to leave. Yeah.
And yeah, so they do.
Cut your losses.
You legit feel like, oh hey, this movie's coming to an end. Like I actually, for whatever reason, was starting to get confused again, sitting here watching it because I was like, I know there's more that's supposed to happen.
Both of us,
and then it does happen.
Thought the movie was shorter going into this movie because of our memories being so old of the time that we had watched it, and we're like, she hasn't swum in the pool with skeletons yet. Like, what is even happening here? I thought that happens towards the middle. And it turns out it's at the very, very end. So it was a little bit, yeah. But I thought it was well done. It was well done.
All right. It's judgment time.
Right.
I'll let you go first. So,
I feel like this suffers a little bit in terms of story development, because there is an explanation for like that the real estate agent was not told that the developer developed on the actual bodies of people instead of moving them. There's that, but like a lot of the like Zelda popping in or the psychologist that is a paranormal investigator, there's just not a whole lot of background information about what's happening in this spiritual plane that the daughter gets sucked into. There's enough, but it's very, very, very basic. And I feel like my impression of the movie being shorter the first time I watched it, like, it could have been. But if they had expanded on exactly, like, kind of what was happening a bit, then this is the perfect length, if that makes sense. Like, I felt... I was stuck because I was really enjoying it, but I also felt like it was a bit long. Like, and there were just parts that either could have been condensed or expanded upon, not in a way that added much more runtime, period, but like conversation that could have been occurring while action was happening. That just made it worth my while to sit there for the 114 minutes and just really get absorbed in it. So because of that, I'm giving this a 3.5 skeletons.
Nice.
Yeah.
I forgot who. I didn't know if it was Steven Spielberg who did the Avatar, but it wasn't. That's James Cameron.
Yeah.
Sorry, a lot of famous directors that kind of get mixed up in my head.
Right.
Because I was like, because for a second I was like, he just likes to make long movies.
I mean, he does. That's he does.
But no, so it wasn't who I thought it was. Oh, dude, that hurts. Why?
We're getting old. That's why.
Yeah, not for this kind of pain. I don't know where this came from. Anyways, Poltergeist again for me. Again, I have not watched this movie since a young teenager.
Right.
And when I say young teenager,
12, 13.
I'm talking, I might not have even been a teenager when I watched it.
I think I was 11,
The movie
12.
came out in 82. I probably watched it like 89, 90.
Yeah, it was probably 11, 12. Yeah.
I was born in 85. So the movie's
82.
older than I am.
It's the best
So I was probably not even, close to fucking teenager. I was probably like 8 or 9 when I actually
Right.
watched it. So going into this, I didn't have expectations. And I purposely didn't have any because I try to go into most of these if I've never seen them before or it's been so long since I've seen it that I don't remember much of it. I try to keep I try to keep an open mind to it because again they are 80s horror movies. They're not going to be what I remember as being the glory days for horror. For me the glory days were the 90s. That's when everything got wild and crazy.
Right.
And for me. But
Late bloomer.
it ended up being a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The acting, again, is super solid.
It is.
All the way around. The special effects, pretty damn good all the way around, too. There's also...
Honestly, a lot of it would hold up today.
There's rumors that those were actually real skeletons that were in the water. Were they?
They were. I mean, like, you can get them as medical skeletons. Yeah, they're real.
Right. And so, I mean, practically they had exactly what was in the movie. What they were showing you was real, in terms of that. But, like, and like she said, the only thing that really took me out of it at any point, graphically, was the wisps that were just kind of moving around. And you could tell were almost just supplemented over the film.
Yeah.
And so it didn't actually look like it was there.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the folding in at the end, obviously that couldn't be done practically. That was an add-in, but most of it, again, because it was real or so well done, would hold up today just fine.
And it does.
Yeah.
And it does. I'm actually you said you gave it a 3.5, right?
I did.
I'm actually in the same boat as you. I'm giving it 3.5 television sets.
Nice. Static. They're here.
Oh, no, just basic television
I know,
sets.
but,
But yeah, again,
it was really well done.
It ended up being...
I'd watch it again. I'd watch it with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd want to watch the remake first to see which they're going to appreciate more considering their age.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But alright, guys. That's just the start of the next 3 days being pretty much all legendary movies.
Yes. We got it.
Well, the next, not 3 days,
we
but the
got
next
such
3 episodes.
A great run of cult classics. It's amazing.
Not even cult classics.
I mean, some of them.
But a run of 2 absolute classics and then a cult classic movie.
Exactly. They're all classics at this point.
I'm excited to talk about these with you. Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. We will next episode we'll be covering The Thing. The Thing!
What is The Thing? We don't know.
We don't know.
Do you know?
All right, that is going to do it. We love you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.